Have my the music from another video blasting. Hello everybody and welcome to the Hot Wall. Welcome to our usual Thursday show where we rank the latest football shirts in a giant tier list. That's strange. I don't see. I think my streaming software. I don't know if it's something on mine. I can't see your comments on the screen, but I can see them in the chat. So as we start, welcome. And Brooke flying in with a couple of comments. I should add as well, guys. I said this last stream, but because I'm still testing and trialing this new setup, this new audio setup, if the music's too loud or I'm too loud or they're too quiet or anything like that, please let me know. I should really do some testing, preliminary testing before I go live. I haven't had a chance to do that because I've been very busy, but basically please let me know because we're still in the early stages of this latest setup. But anyway, Brock, good to see you. Says, hey Phil, can you tell where you ranked the Real Soleil shirt? So Brock, I did some of the backlog that was needed, but I haven't caught up completely, and I did see your comment about that, so I haven't yet ranked it, I don't think. I'm just going to check the wall now. Yeah, because did they add it? I know it wasn't on the Football Shirt Culture site initially. I don't know if it's since been added. But yeah, keep pestering me though, because yes, I want to basically, and anyone who's new to the whole, for any shirts that we're not able to get to during these shows, I will try and rank them off screen basically. Bit of a change from last year where we tried to do everything on screen. I think for practicality's sake, and just so we can talk about the latest shirts every week, we're going to start with the latest releases and work backwards, and then I'll fill in the gaps in between shows. But yeah, as we kind of filter in, guys, I want to give the usual kind of mentions to subscribe if you haven't already. Please do that. It does make a big difference. even though we're a small channel here, and we only put videos out, we kind of semi-regularly, it does mean a lot to have subscribers, just simply for visibility of the channel and things like that. So it really means a lot if you enjoyed the content to subscribe, and also to leave a like if you enjoy the video. A comment is always welcome as well, whether that's in the chat like Brock here, or if you want to stick it in the main comment section of the video. But your support means a lot, so thank you. On that note, I will just quickly show off what I've been working on really for the last few days, and that is, if I quickly switch us over, and I'll find this design, and I've entered a competition. I believe basically that the premise of, well, essentially this is an open competition to design a shirt for the Marshall Islands, and they are I believe they're the last football team, or last country without a football team, I should say. Yeah, so it's a really fun competition, but I would just say, if you are, if you're on Twitter, go and check it out and let me know what you think of the design. And of course, a like always helps. I don't think there's any, I think basically from what I gather, they're going to select their favourites, and you can see some decent designs. Well, there are a lot of good designs from some really good designers, so competition is very, very high. But it would just mean a lot if you do have Twitter, as I say, pop over to there and yeah, give it a like if you like the design. If not, that is all good, but any support would be very welcome on that one. Thank you, Brock. Brock's, it's great design. Again, the chat, this happens so often. It's going to pop up at some point in the stream. That's what happened last time. Let's get to the wall. Let's get to the wall. Now, the main thing really with this one, guys, is that we're still in the early days. This is early in the year, but already we're starting to see a few fun things here. This is our tier list. My favourite shirts of the year on the right side, in the Volcano tier, the hottest, I should say, shirts of the year. My least favourites in the Ice Cube tier. Sometimes a shirt might end up down this side for different reasons. It could be a horrible sponsor. It could be a terrible colourway or a rehashed template which you've seen 100 times. And conversely, on the higher end of the tier list, sometimes it's stuff which is just a template, but it's really well executed, or it's really well utilised. Although typically more bespoke design, you tend to see more of your bespoke stuff up here, but that's not always the case. But yeah, we're going to rank shirts on this list, and of course, to help us do that, we have Football Shirt Culture. Shout out to Football Shirt Culture, really good site. They document the majority of shirts, although as we hinted at in the intro, not all shirts. Guys, as well as we go through, it always really kind of makes the show with your contribution. So any comments, critiques, if you agree or disagree with my rankings, let me know in the chat, and yeah, help me rank these shirts. Now, I was very intrigued by this. This is the first time I've seen these Las Vegas Lights shirts, and am I right in saying they were with Maber? Are they still with Maber? Because what I'm seeing here is on the shirt, sorry, on this render here, that looks like the Maber taping, although that's a terrible quality, but then it's clearly not a Maber shirt, so not sure what's going on there. I'm guessing they're no longer with Maber. I'm confused because that was, am I right, unless I'm thinking of someone else, I'm pretty sure they were with Maber last time, but anyway, let's get past that. These guys have quite an interesting back catalogue. I can't think of a word. They certainly play on their theme of lights very clearly. Honestly, this looks pretty clumsy though. I think the skyline thing is a little bit, honestly, it's a bit naff. And even though the colours are quite fun for the club, the sponsor is a horrible clash. Honestly, this is a textbook Ice Cube shirt in my mind. And this kind of link design, which I think is the logo here, and I don't know what the brand is. Yeah, so let's just check. Yeah, I don't think Football Shirt Culture do either. So we don't have a brand, but let's get into the ball. Let's start with the away. honestly, I think it is an Ice Cube tier. I think even with this taping, with taping that is a design along the edge of the sleeves in that style can be really nice, and a lot of logos look particularly good. You think of Kappa, you think of Hummel's chevrons, of course, but basically this is an example where I don't think it does look very good. The logo, it kind of looks like chains, like links, but I don't think it looks nice. And even though, again, the club have quite a fun colour scheme, I really don't like the look of that skyline. This looks just really cheap, both in quality and design. It has something of a novelty factor, but I'm just going to stick it straight down there. And again, I am confused by what this brand is. I mean, if you really wanted to, we could look it up. I'm not going to for the sake of time, but we'll come back to that. The home. Now, what I will say is I think this is much better from a design perspective. The sponsor is still massive. Like, not only is it a horrible color clash, that orange really sticks out like a sore thumb. I don't like the look of the old exclamation marks there. The brand logo looks bad. It's fully sublimated, which is often the case. Again, this render is misleading because that is not. I mean, I don't even think we've got the jock tag. Oh, we do have the jock tag there, as on the render. But anyway, this is better. And actually, I'd almost think this may be just into the canons here, but overall, very disappointing. And it was only last year that these guys, again with Maber, had really quite nice designs. Some of my favourite kits out of the States, certainly outside of MLS. But this year's set is a real step down. And I'm confused because, again, I guess I know Maber have gone big with Oakland Roots and their sister club Oakland Soul, so maybe that's part of it. I don't know. We'll stick them here. This is the home. Again, I much prefer the home to the away, but two disappointing shirts. But now we come to a shirt which I do like a lot. And again, I've only seen this. I only saw this today for the first time. This is the Chicago Red Stars home kit. Now, Chicago Red Stars have been one of the better teams, I would say, in is it the NWSL? I can't remember the name of the league now. I think it's NWSL. I quite like this photo shoot. They've really kind of styled it quite nicely there. And the overall look of the kit, I think, is really smart. Going for the black. Obviously, black as a base is a very classic look. But I really like how they brought out the stars there. And I believe the flag of Chicago, the Americans in our community will be able to help me. Yeah, so there's 4 red stars. I think it looks really strong. And to be honest, NWSL, thank you, Brock. Yeah, I actually think, again, you could argue that black's a bit of a cliche, and I don't think these guys usually have. In fact, I'm just gonna have a quick look. I'm just literally gonna hit Google Images. Yeah, so it's usually blue, like a lighter blue. So that's Sam Kerr there, you can see. But this is honestly really, really nice as a kind of combo with the red. I like the look of the Nike, the way that the collar as well. You can see the little bits of red. I think overall this is very strong. Now I'm not jumping up and down. I think there are better shirts, but I think this is easily in the Flames tier. And it's not a busy design, but I really like the way that the stars kind of come out from the main bit of the pattern there in the red, and the way the collar interacts with that. Obviously, it's funny. This photo shoot is so stylized, you can't really see that. There's no picture of the full kit, so we can't fully appreciate it in that sense. But anyway, great kit. I think this is like sneakily very good. I like it, and I actually don't mind that the crest, obviously in the full color there, it does stand out. But I like the way it sits within the stars there. I think it's really good. I think this is a Flames ticket. Brock says Chicago, good shirt. I agree, Brock. I really like it. And Brock also says, did you hear the Utah Royals have returned next year? I think their Chris is better than the new. I didn't see that. I must admit, I don't keep a very close eye on the American scene, both men's and women's, other than the kits largely. But yeah. I really like this. Like, honestly, I think the to put it into the volcano tier, you wouldn't need much. I'd like to see some sort of detail on the kit, and I do think that, you know, as much as the sponsor's reason, well, it is well incorporated. You know, it's not a positive element of the design, but you know, they've incorporated it fine. It is quite large, but no, overall I'm really happy with this, and I think, you know, maybe just seeing it in kind of dry for ADV as well would help. Though we don't want to mark down shirts too much if they don't have player spec materials. But yeah, anyway, really high on this. And what I will do, of course, as we're doing this year on the Hot Wall, not only will I rank the shirt on here, and again, I think, honestly, like, I think it compares to something like the Yellow Galaxy shirt there. I'd probably take it slightly lower, but not by much. We will, of course, we've got a kind of brand watch, brand slider, whatever you want to call it, brand tier. And what we're kind of moving the brands up and down every shirt from them, and we're trying to kind of take into account the whole portfolio. So in this example, we'll move Nike up a little bit, but obviously, you know, we're not going to go too crazy. There have been quite a few misses early on in the year. There will be more good shirts, I'm sure. But guys, yeah, let me know what you think about that one. I'm really like this, and again, I've only seen this today for the first time, but I think it's very strong. Now we come to Stuttgart's diversity shirt. This is something which has become much more of a thing, particularly in Bundesliga clubs. A lot of Bundesliga clubs doing some sort of pride, diversity type shirt, incorporating rainbows into the design in some way. This is a really, I mean, look at this style of the Mercedes logo. Now, I don't know exactly what, if we're looking at a plastic material, but that alone is absolutely brilliant. Aesthetically, this is the kind of thing which, of course, has been more of a thing going forward, or I should say in the last few years, and going forward you expect it to be much more of a thing. And I think what's cool is, you know, we see kind of, for example, in this print here, it's like a set design, so that isn't, as far as I can tell, I might be wrong, but it looks like it's a print essentially of the rainbow aesthetic, and even on the crest it's the same, which looks very nice. But I particularly like this sort of approach where and again, I might be wrong, but based on these pictures, you can see here that it's actually kind of reflecting and interacting with the light in a more dynamic way, as opposed to, again, this looks good, don't get me wrong, but this sponsor alone I think is worth our attention. Robert, thank you, saying the Las Vegas shirt brand appears to be duo. Really appreciate that. Good afternoon to you as well, my friend. And that is great, because we didn't have a chance to put them onto the list, so we will stick duo there in between our where was the Las Vegas one? It was there, wasn't it? So I think duo have to gonna go around here. Thank you, Robert. Great stuff. Good old footy headlines coming up there. Yeah, so that, honestly, I could kind of spend 10 minutes talking about just the sponsor. Other pro points, it's really good to see that band across the back. What I will say is the design itself on the base is a bit overdone, and I think I'm right in saying Stuttgart did this for a shirt last year, or maybe it was their home or away shirt this year. I can't remember. But basically, the sponsor is kind of doing the heavy lifting here, and I don't think it's enough for me. You know, I think, again, I don't really like the look of the base of the shirt there. I'd actually rather it was clean, I think, or at least have this detail. I think there's better executions, and as much out of the sponsor, this kind of style, the crest looks great in TPU and the texture is brilliant. They're really giving us what we want there, but at the same time, it would look 10 times better, I think, in this sort of style. At least that's my personal preference, as opposed to a kind of set rainbow. I don't know what you want to call it. So I think it's probably going to be in the high end of the counter tier, despite how excited I am about that sponsor application. I think as well, there is a kind of thing to say about diversity shirts or pride shirts, because we've seen so many of them now. I think we do have to kind of judge them in more maybe harshly, in the sense that we know that having a rainbow element on a shirt can actually look quite nice, but some shirts do it better than others. I think this one, despite the various positives which we mentioned, I think there are better shirts in this category. And basically, if we saw this approach on all the applications, I think that's an immediate upgrade, probably straight up to mid to high flame steer. But very, very cool to see. And again, we could talk a lot about the sponsor. For the sake of time, we will move on to Canada. And it says Switch Me Bunnies looks at the message is printed. The right side of the top point of the logo is green blue in every photo. Oh, Andrew, you've broken my heart. Oh yeah, you might be right. You might be right. So have they just completely fooled me there? I mean, honestly, I did not register that at all. Of course, it could be that they've. I mean, yeah, if we're doing confirmation required. However, you might be right there. And I really, oh yeah, they got me. They had us in the first half. Good afternoon, Baz. Good to see you. Good to see a few of the regulars here. Guys, I just will say one more time, and I won't mention it again. Let me know how the audio levels are, because again, this is something which I've changed my setup, and I've turned down the music ever so slightly because I think it was a tiny bit loud. But let me know what you think, if I'm too loud or too quiet. Similarly, if the music's too loud or too quiet. But it'd be good to just hear from your guys' perspective. I can only test so much on my side, but it's helpful to know either way. But no worries. Yeah, no worries. It's all good. Now, Forge FC, they've out of the Canadian Premier League, I've had some of my favourite shirts in the league. We talked about Lynx in the Las Vegas shirt. I don't like the look of this. It's tacky to me. It's very tacky. The colourway is, I kind of like the kind of steel colourway. I don't mind it with the orange. And actually, of course, they're called Forge FC. So there's a lot you can imagine they go down that route. The logo is very kind of angular and it has that kind of steelworks vibe. But this design is very, very naff. Like, I just think it's bad. The Lynx. I think you just take them out immediately and you've got a good shirt or better shirt. Not great application quality there. The stitching looks pretty cheap, but there we go. Yeah, so I'm left pretty underwhelmed. And again, I quite like the colorway. There's definitely potential there. I can equally thank you, Baz. Thank you. And Andrew still looks good though. Apologies. No need to apologise, my friends. I appreciate the heads up. You guys you are often keeping me in check, giving me the info I need, helping me pronounce team names and such. Yeah, so Forge FC, those links, guys, those chains, not feeling it at all. And I think you can do it in a much more, like, I don't know, you know what it is? I'm just looking at it again. The way it cuts off so abruptly, you know, it looks like they've basically just pasted the pattern on, using very technical terminology here, and just you know, cut it, masked it. But it's very kind of, it looks unfinished. I think it looks quite cheap. And for a brand like Macron, they're big brands. I think they could do better than that. So honestly, I think probably I'm gonna have to stick in the ice cube tip, which is a real shame because I do like a lot. Again, I think of the few sets of Canadian kits we've seen, Forge FC have been some of my favourites. I think they won the inaugural Canadian Premier League. I might be wrong on that. We should, of course, now rank Macron or consider Macron, and they've been struggling a bit. I think with Macron, the highs are very high, but because their portfolio is so big, they kind of suffer in a similar way to, you know, the big brands like Nike and Adidas, where they've got such a big portfolio that, yeah, the misses do. I mean, you can see here there's a couple of Macron shirts in the ice cube tip. Robert says, looks like the shirt's been run over by a tractor. Yeah, I mean, it has, yeah, has a bit of that. And it, you know what, with the home shirt, I'm gutted again to see those chains, those links. Or at least, okay, so what I will say is, some of those links look better. I think the ones which are in the kind of fractal pattern look decent or look more usable. But this outline one, I don't know. There's a lot I think overall I like it better, and there's a lot of elements here which are kind of, it's an ambitious design in that sense. I don't love the oval look, but what I do much prefer it to the away. I think this one you could justify higher in the tier list, probably in the canon tier still, just because it looks a little bit clumsy. I also don't particularly like this neckline, but that's so much Macron. I think I'm not the biggest fan of, it sounds funny, but Macron collars, necklines, they tend to be a little bit, I think they try too hard often. I'm, as boring as it is, I often would much rather just have a simple crew neck, but that's personal preference. I mean, this whole list is my personal preference, but Boxers, I believe, forged one again last season. Yeah, you know what, but I was just looking at here. That suggested they've won 3 league titles. And the league's not been going for that much longer, has it? I thought it was only about 3 or 4 years. So, anyway, so that's the home kit. I would definitely rank this higher, and I do think, to be honest, I mean, you've got Toronto there, staying in Canada. I'd take it over the Toronto kit, not by that much though. And that will bump Macron up slightly, but again, in our list here, we're not going to go too crazy. That is Forge FC. It's the 5th season of the league. Thank you, Buck. Thank you. Now, AFC Richmond. This is funny. We're only ranking shirts on this list that are going to be worn on the pitch by a real life team. So fictional shirts don't fall into that category. We're also not doing goalkeeper kits, just for the sake of keeping it somewhat clean. Not too much to say about this one. Of course, their move to Nike, I said there, this is, I've not seen Ted Lasso. By all accounts, it's quite good, but this is their new shirt with Nike. They've kind of moved to Nike, if you like. Yeah, it's fine. It looks like, about 6 years old. Yeah, there's not too much to say there. But then maybe if I watched the show, I would be a lot more, I'd have a lot more to say. Boxes you need to watch. It's so good. Honestly, Brock, I've only heard good things. And without wanting to sound too harsh to our American friends, yourself included, I just assumed it wasn't going to be that good. But then when I saw people here in the UK saying it was good, and again, there's no way of saying that, which doesn't sound like I'm having a dig at again at our friends over the pond. But yeah. And also Baz saying, I'm confused by in their Instagram post recently regarding their send their back. Was they saying they're just releasing retro shirts or going to make extra comebacks, same as Matchman? I see their post, but not sure what's going on. I'd love to see all manufacturers. Yeah, Baz, honestly, I didn't see the NL, and I clocked the Matchwinner stuff, and I think it seems to me that they are basically just trying to do retro kits again. There have been exceptions to that. So Maber have started making match kits again, and they I think are positioning themselves quite nicely. I like what they've done, and of course they bring a lot from a lifestyle perspective as well. But I think it seems that quite a few brands are basically they often will go down the retro route first, and that's fine. That's no problem. Of course, it makes sense. But you would. Yeah, you don't want to get too excited at this early stage. Now, a lot has been said about this Portal Thorns kit. And I just today, was it today? I honestly, yeah, it was today. Gosh, it's only 4 hours ago. I tweeted that the price of this particular kit was expensive, but that's a whole piece we could do. Looking at the design of this Portal Thorns kit, this drew a lot of reaction. For me, I think the theme or the idea is one which is quite fun to explore, and I really like, and I only noticed this the other day, that even on the shorts they've got this kind of embellished floral look around the crest, and that's really cool because again, and I commented on the crest, the way that the crest is integrated into the pattern, it's really fun. Yes, it is quite tacky. It does look a bit kind of noughties, kind of punk, emo, whatever you want to call it. And actually, on this note, the crest has slightly, it looks like it's nudged a little bit higher there. Should be a few millimeters lower if we're being picky. But judging the shirt for what it's worth, I think it's a Marmite shirt. You either love it or you hate it. I think really we could have seen more of the pattern. What I do like is the colours. I like that base colour. It's ever so slightly green by the looks of it. and I like it with like that. Just the colours look really good. Obviously, the design is where you're seeing where your eye is drawn to, and it is it kind of falls into this sort of tattoo kind of vibe, which again has been a bit of a theme. Shout out to Janine Becky, who I met at an event a couple of years ago, and she was absolutely brilliant. So cool to see she's over in Portland now. But anyway, I actually, now the funny thing is, despite how tacky the shirt is, and it is, I can't help but like it as a whole. Now I do think I'd want more of the pattern, and again I think it is very on the nose. Another interesting fact, and again, I don't want to dwell too much on the kind of placement element, but you can see here how the dagger is actually shorter, and I think that's because it's a different size, and that's really interesting that there's a variation there between sizes, seemingly. But anyway, I actually have to put this in the flames tier, despite, and again, I know I shouldn't, like I know there are things which could be a lot better, and I wouldn't say I would take it over. Well, you see, it's funny. I actually do prefer the Chicago kit, which won't get a lot of plaudits, but I do much prefer that. But then when I look here, I think, oh, actually, no, I think it deserves to be in the middle of this tier, somewhere around Columbus. They're very different. It's a very different shirt to the Columbus shirt. But no, I like it around here, if I'm honest. And again, that's Nike. Nike haven't had many hits this early into the season, so that will bump them up, and it's getting very crowded at this side. But I think somewhere like here feels good. I might have to separate these guys out a bit. But this is, I mean, I'm really keen to hear your thoughts. Andy says, I'm torn on this, love it and hate it. 90 placement must be the lowest I've ever done it for. It's very low, isn't it? I mean, for what it's worth, I really like the clean sponsor here, Providence. I think that's, it's like almost like Times New Roman, isn't it? There's nothing exciting about it, but I do personally quite like that. I think it's a shame it's so expensive, because I think the shirt is a lot of fun. It's a bit much, but I don't know. I think, I mean, the premise really, if a shirt is in the higher end of the Flames tier and above, I'd want to have it in my collection, and I would want to have this in my collection, even though I know it is a bit naff. Brock says, I have a friend that plays Portland Thorns. She played for Sevilla and got one of her shirts. Brock, mate, get me one of her shirts. I will happily pay you. Doesn't have to be signed. Oh, Portland Thorns stuff is so expensive. Like for us in the UK, to get the shirt, it was, well, the player spec. It's like $160 plus about $30 shipping, and if you want it printed, it's another $30. I mean, the printing is very basic, so I probably wouldn't go for printing. But anyway. Bass says, cheers, Phil. As you know, I'm more of a retro shirt person over a modern one, but being an Arsenal fan, I love the Arsenal black and gold one for this season. I know it'll be a classic. It will be, mate. I think, I'm kind of hoping Arsenal win at this point. And I think they may do. Obviously, a long way to go, but you've certainly got more of a chance winning than Liverpool have of getting top 4, I think. But we'll see. That could also happen. But and Brooks, on the subreddit, have you seen how bad the Great Britain baseball jerseys are? I haven't. I'm honestly not a baseball guy. I love, like, I'm big into the NFL, and I've been watching that for like ages, since the noughties, and I've been getting really into it in the last couple of years because I've started playing fantasy football. Honestly, I still kind of want to have some way to talk about NFL jerseys, some outlet. I don't know whether, maybe I had to just start doing something on here on the channel. I don't know. But anyway, so I'm big into that. But I've never really got into baseball. So honestly, you could tell me, I know kind of the key things. I could tell you a few teams, but that's about it. Andy says, love the Arsenal away shirt, and yes, I did learn they stole the design from Scotland. I'd have to look more into that. But BSC Young Boys, I'm not going to waste too much of your time, guys. I think this has to go in the Volcano tier. Now, there are one or two things I would change. One comment firstly on the colour. Even though I'm so bored of black and gold, I can't help but really like this. It ticks so many of the boxes that I look for. It leans heavily into details. That sleeve patch is just spot on. Love that kind of thing. and it's a bit of texture there as well. It looks nice in the plastic. Year detail, very simple, but I like that on the back neck. Look at the numbers is great. I love how they've really kind of, and the dry fit ADV, it's almost like body mapping. Now, when I first saw this, I assumed it was just one of the bespoke, one of the standard dry fit ADV patterns. Maybe it isn't actually, or maybe it is just they've brought out more. I don't know, but regardless, it looks really good. The main things I don't like, there aren't many, but I don't really like how I think it's like a DNA design. Also, that photography isn't great. It's a bit dark there, but anyway, that the way it kind of fades out with the gradient. Honestly, I'd rather just have this like frame in the chest, I think, or probably just have it around the cuffs or something like that. And you're working with the Nike template, which at this point is starting to kind of, it's been tight. We've seen too much of it. That is the neckline there, but the old Nike logo, which just has a lot going for it. And I think it's. I mean, it has to be for me in the Volcano tier. I actually think this is like considerably better than the AIK shirt, which, funnily enough, I don't think we've ranked yet because that was lost. That's in the backlog, I think, unless we ranked it lower. I can't remember. But yeah, I really like this. And again, we've seen so much black and gold, so in that sense, it's not that exciting. But I do think, again, when you're looking at things like application quality, attention to detail, and really kind of leaning heavily on this, on the potential of player spec shirts, when you've got, as I say, patterns within the body which add just fantastic texture. And this is something which, again, since kind of the latest or the later versions of Vaping It and onwards, the best Nike shirts have lent into this, made it a thing from a design perspective, and I think it looks really strong. Everything matched to the colours, even though you've got the sponsor, it looks good in the colourway. So yeah, love the shirt. That's another expensive one. Talking of expensive shirts, I think that one, I had a quick look, wasn't cheap to get from Switzerland. But there we go. That's the BSC Young Boys anniversary shirt. Now we got to Bristol City. This was an interesting story. Bristol City, who were with Hummel, and then after Hummel's UK distributor went into administration, several Hummel teams are now either looking or have found another brand. Some are staying with Hummel, but yeah, basically, looking at the shirt, O'Neill's, honestly, I'm not too sure about this one. I think the overall aesthetic isn't bad, but then you look a bit closer, the kind of, I know it's hard to match the pinstripes there, but I think if you can't match the pinstripes, you probably just shouldn't have it on the collar, personally. And the alternate crest is okay, but because it's sublimated, again, it kind of lacks quality for me. If anything, I wouldn't have the pinstripe. Ideally, I think you'd have it. The pinstripes wouldn't be shown through the Robin, personally. Or, it looks good. It looks good from some angles, but it's not too exciting. I think we've seen, of course, your mind goes to a team like Norwich, and their pinstriped effort from last year was very, very popular. Feels a little bit like they're trying to go for that vibe, but it's not nearly as good as that one. It's a third kit, and I do think, again, the alternate crest, I think with a better quality alternate crest, I think this one goes up. It goes up considerably. Even though I've been talking it down a little bit, I think we're still in the kind of mid to high candle tier. I do appreciate that, there is a simplicity there. They have colour matched the sponsor well. And it's not, a lot of shirts, especially third kits, can get a bit over the top. This one, I think, is actually fine. Again, I like the twist with the crest. I think this kind of region feels good, though. Nothing too high. But I would definitely say that, the O'Neills haven't impressed me too much. Now, a lot could change. you can see here they're already on the board around that sort of level. So this is consistent, you could say, with their other shirts. We'll stick them there. Boxing. Well, Monarchs released a new shirt a couple of days ago. Very nice. Russell Lake Versa. Very good, very good. And Andy said they should have waited a little longer. We get 3 more years of Hummel, thankfully. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Some clubs staying with Hummel, you know, it's largely a good thing. I have to assume that that a lot of the clubs, maybe most of them, would have wanted to have done that. But then I am biased to Hummel. You know, I kind of think everyone would love Hummel, but they have had issues, of course, particularly with distribution in the past. And with that kind of association, you can imagine other clubs would just want a clean break. But anyway, now we come to Racing Club, or Racing Club. I'm not sure how they say it in Argentina. But anyway, this is their home kit. Now, when you've got a striped team, it's hard year on year to mix up your shirt. By that I mean, if a striped home kit, you know, think of the Milan clubs or Newcastle, whatever it might be. You know you're almost certainly going to get stripes for a home kit. How do you justify and release a new home kit every year, knowing that you've got a lot more limitations than other clubs? This kind of pattern to me looks a little bit cheap. You know, these guys are a big team in Argentina. You know, I like that detail, even though it's very simple. That's nice. But the kind of triangle pattern, it looks very stock. It looks very stock image to me. And the overall Kappa template as well looks very underwhelming. Kappa, over the years, have had some pretty good templates, and you know, I think this one just looks like it looks like an old. Well, I don't know. There's nothing exciting about that silhouette, that construction. So left pretty underwhelmed by this one. I don't really think as well, having the navy elements. The navy is a kind of tertiary colour there. I think I'd rather just go straight in with just 2 colours, and maybe use a little bit of navy if you need to for any particularly. I forgot to move Nike, didn't I? I just realised I'm going to bump Nike up a bit more because we had them. We ran them after the Portland shirt, didn't we? So actually, in light of their recent success, we'll bump them up there. Anyway, back to Racing Club. Yeah, so quite disappointed. I think, you know, it is hard, and that's why I wanted to start the conversation off by mentioning the fact that striped home shirts, you've got, in many ways, I think it's one of the harder briefs in football. And even though they're not too excited, often the best ones are the ones which are just a bit more traditional. So this one, I think I'd probably put it just in the counter tier. Things like the detail do help a lot, but it's, you know, it's largely uninspiring. And that is Kappa. Looking at Kappa, so far they've had a pretty good year. But they are a bit like we said with Macron. They've got such a big portfolio that it's going to be hard just by sheer numbers to keep up in this range. But we'll see. A long way to go. Long way to go. Yeah, I like this from Andy. Said bit Trivial Pursuit in the pattern. Yeah, it's very, very Trivial Pursuit. I can't unsee that now. And then the away kit. Let's have a look. Must admit, not loving the initial shots. You could say it's marginally better, but it still feels very stock. I mean, this is the thing, guys. This sort of design, even if this is bespoke, even if they're the only team to have this pattern, I don't know. It looks like they've literally. It looks like a stock image or some sort of very kind of minimal attention to detail there. You know, the overall effect is quite nice with the various shades of blue. I think in a better kind of construction, again, if Kappa were a bit more in their game, because this does look, as I say, quite dated. Just you know, I don't know. This could just be the Argentinian arm of Kappa being a bit underwhelming. A lot of brands do actually have quite significant variations by region. And sometimes that's for the better. You know, we've talked on this channel so much over the years about Umbro in Brazil being just a great place where Umbro basically do their best work, largely. Maybe this is the reverse with Kappa. I'm not too sure. But yeah, pretty disappointing. I do like it more on the home by a chunk. But I'm still, I don't know. See, I think I'm landed around here. I'd take over the PSG shirt, which says more about how I don't like that, but not great. And that's Kappa again, so they will start a bit further. They're kind of, I think, maybe just ahead of Adidas in my overall estimations. Not the best combo. Now we come to some Scandinavian clubs, Malmo and Puma. Malmo of Sweden. Not much to say about this one, is there? I think just looking here, I mean, it looks like, was it Marseille had a shirt almost identical in terms of the base style earlier the year. Not enjoying the colour clash. Those blues are kind of similar enough that it looks like, oh, maybe they're trying to match it, but it isn't, obviously. The sponsor's fine. At least it is, again, matched with the colour, but it's largely just a simple pinstripe shirt. Flag detail on the back is okay, but not excited. Now, to be honest, despite it's sending me to sleep, but at the same time, I think I would probably stick it in the counter tier, despite its simplicity. The overall look is fine. Like it's not offensive in any way, but yeah, largely disappointed. And I think Malmo. Again, they're a big club in Sweden. They should be getting more of a bespoke treatment from Puma here. I think largely, and AIK of course have drawn a lot of attention in Sweden, but outside of them, there's not been many shirts or teams that have regularly been in the kind of kit conversation year on year, and Sweden are missing out. As I say that, kind of collectively. It's funny, very similar to the Yokohama shirt there, but anyway, yeah, I think we're looking at something around there. And again, we will consider Puma, who, I mean, they're flying up at the moment, but this shirt alone, I think we'll stick them just at a Nike. And yeah, quite disappointed about that for Malmo. What about FC Copenhagen? So now we're down in Denmark, just over the border, so to speak. This is the third kit from Adidas. Not too keen on this one. I think the colour is quite mid. It looks slightly better on the retail shot there, I would say. So it's kind of depends on your preference, but the slightly more kind of red look is less exciting. This, which looks a bit more kind of wine coloured, I think that has more potential as a base colour, but even then, it's not too strong. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm left wanting more, quite simply. Now I do like this over the Malmo shirt, but it's still very much a candle tier shirt, and a kind of mid candle tier at that. I don't think we're looking at much more than that level. Yeah, I mean, they've tried to oh, that's not what I wanted to do. What am I doing, guys? Absolute mess here. We've lost that. We need to start that again. We'll get there. There we go. Yeah. So I don't know what you think of these most recent shirts, but this one, honestly, it feels like something around here is appropriate. That, of course, is an Adidas shirt, so we'll nudge Adidas ever so slightly, just a few pixels, but much more. What was I going to say? Adidas could do so much more. Of course, they have so many teams, and we have Djurgårdens. Again, I've forgotten how to say their name. We did learn this last year, and I've completely forgot. so they're not called Joe Gardens. Now, what I will say about this one, and again, we didn't see this on the Copenhagen shirt. Yeah, so this Adidas construction is better. This is the World Cup construction, if you like. By that, I mean, if you see the hem there in the contrast color, that is immediately an upgrade on what we've just seen. And even though this is quite a plain shirt, and I'm not overly convinced by the kind of colorway, however, it looks much better there, like that. And again, it could just be that we didn't see proper pictures. But this does so much, guys. This does so much for even a plain shirt. This was a notable step up for Adidas, I would say. This is just a replica tier shirt in terms of materials and that sort of thing. We don't have the heat ready patterning, but it looks really good, even in replica. Interesting kind of perforated sleeves, actually. So that is interesting. But overall, I think this one is I think this is better than the Copenhagen shirt, even though it is, essentially a white shirt, but it's got enough just in that base template. Honestly, I think almost any shirt in this construction, I think would look reasonable, but I do think the colour choices are decent. And again, I'm honestly surprised I'm enjoying this as much. Were we to see several more teams in this look or very similar look, we would have to reconsider. Now, I'm not going to get carried away. So even though I like it more than Copenhagen, it's definitely still in this kind of region. But I do like it more, and that will help Adidas or nudge him up it does as a result of that. What about... Well, we're going back to Canada now. Valor FC. Let's start with the away here. Now, we talked quite a bit about Macron and their work with Forge FC. Oh, just open Premiere. That's not what I wanted to do. I'm going to have to close that in a second. Guys. That's tacky, man. The claw mark. Not feeling that. My gut instinct is that looks very, very tacky. Again, I do not want to be getting into videos, so we're going to close that program. Not feeling it. Not feeling it. I think this look is a hard one to pull off, and I don't think they feel. To me, there's a real clash in aesthetic between the kind of the Valor FC kind of color scheme, crest. It speaks. There's a sort of class level there, a kind of a refined direction, and you're not getting that with those claw marks, and that's fine in a sense. But even just the colorway here, the kind of grungy look. Again, Premiere is trying desperately to open. We will close it. Anderson, the colours on the badge, class touch, we reckon it would be nice if the colours fit in the shirt. I assume that was on the Gigarden shirt. Gigardens. I can't. We did learn last year how to pronounce it. I've forgotten. Anyway, I assume that's what you're saying, Andrew. Unless you talk about the Valor, but I assume it's the other one. And I think this distressed look just ends up, the shirt just ends up looking a bit dirty. So overall, this is bad. I actually think. I mean, is it the worst shirt we've seen this year? I think it might be. I'm just looking here at our ice cubes here. Oh, it's not the worst shirt we've seen this year. That's harsh, but I'm very low on this. It's an easy ice cube inclusion, and to be honest, I do think I'd take it. I'd probably even take, despite how much I didn't like it, the Forge away shirt. When I compare it to that, despite how naff that pattern was, I think this is worse. Now let's not go too silly. Let's not put them at the bottom. Photoshop's just crashing there. I'd love to see it. There we go. Let's look at there. Macron. somewhat sliding down the tier list today. Not enjoying the Canadian kits as a whole. Yeah, not sure. What do you guys think? Local rugby team. Yeah, that's a good shout. I just said this one looks like a local rugby team. It does look a bit like a local rugby team. It does have that vibe. Will their home kit fare any better? Let's take a look. Alright, guys. I did well to get my first yawn an hour in. It's usually much sooner. No. I mean, well, okay. I do prefer it to the away, but not by much. This pattern, is it like a map? I guess it is, right? And we've seen a lot of map graphics, so this feels too late to the party. I would definitely want to see a much more intricate pattern, a bit less literal. I think, with a lot of these map shirts, the better ones, largely I think, for me, the better ones have been the slightly more abstract ones, or the ones which take the map idea and actually play with it a bit, rather than just slapping a map on there. And it's not even a very aesthetically pleasing map, if I can put it that way. Yeah, not good. And I'd take it above the away, but that's, I think we're still... Well, I think this might... It's either Ice Cube or Low Candle, guys. That's what I'm thinking for this one. The yawns are loud with the new audio setup. Robert, don't be sorry. I need to... Well, I've got a mute button, which I can use. And I will use that next time I yawn. So don't be sorry. What I will say... again, sorry for talking about the audio so much. We hopefully after this stream, or maybe the next stream, I can just leave it. What I will say, if it's too loud, or my my audio is clipping, or it's kind of sounds like really boomy, yeah, let me know. I can certainly try a few different things from my side. But yeah, I'll try and yawn off mic / mute my mic when I yawn. Yeah, I don't know, Valor FC. That's going to still be nice, guys. Very disappointed, to be honest, by that combo of kits. And Macron. This has not been a good day for Macron. If we're being honest, I think this has been a notably bad day. Just largely on the Canadian kits. But, yep, we can only judge what's in front of us. How will Puma fare now with FC Tulsa? Now, I seem to recall some comparisons to the Venezia kit were made by a few people. There are some similarities there, of course. The overall look of this one is fine. They've matched the sponsor directly with the stripe there, and the kind of mint and gold horizontal pinstripes, very much in the style of Venezia. As a combo, I think is pretty good. Not the biggest contrast there, and maybe not the easiest to read. But I think the combo of gold and that kind of, they've called it patina green. You kind of think of like the Statue of Liberty. It's that kind of colour. It's pretty good. Like there's nothing really, I think, that they've done too wrong. Yeah. And this is in the Ultra Weave Puma's latest tech, so that's good to see. It has a shirt quality. I think, yeah, again, the legibility could have been better, and maybe it's a bit too flat. It's definitely going for the clean angle, but I don't think I think even on a quote unquote clean white shirt, you can still do things to help add a bit of definition, a bit of depth. But overall, I'm happy to put this in the higher end of the calendar. And yeah, honestly not bad. The placement of the Puma and the crest maybe could be better, but I'm being very picky there. It's pretty solid. I'd probably take the Venezia shirt over this one, not by much, even though they are quite similar. Yeah, to be honest, when I look here, no, I think here's good. And that's Puma. Yeah, and Andrew, I don't know if... Sorry, I didn't see your comment there, but the Puma logo and the badge placement between the lines aren't great. Yeah, there is that kind of, well, they don't look like they're aligned with each other, honestly, do they? And that does make a difference. Oh, sorry. I forgot to move away or mute the mic. Hopefully that wasn't too loud. What was I going to say? That's completely lost my train of thought there. Anyway, that's FC Tulsa. Now, what about their home kit? That was their away kit. On the home side, that 60-60, so that's quite funny. Yeah, I mean, I think I'd like it slightly more than the away. The colour scheme with that kind of minty green on a black base now. It looks pretty sharp. I don't mind that at all, even though this colour obviously became a bit of a thing a couple of years ago. Overall, I think I would take this over the away. It's hard, kind of the problem which any team with kind of central stripes. How do you incorporate the sponsor? Leaving the gap like that is fine, but it's not, it's not great in terms of the aesthetic most of the time. Yeah, this one I think again, even though it does feel a little bit kind of flat, the details are maybe it's a bit simplistic. I think I would take this over the away, but it's still not enough to crack into the hot tier. Although it is one of the better kind of counter tier, I think that's the thing. I would take it over quite a few shirts, just not enough for it to be in the Flames tier. Jake says, for the last couple of seasons, Tulsa had Greenwood Street Patches, which is the name of the African-American neighborhood destroyed in 1921 race riots. Shame that is included on these shirts. Great insight there, Jake. Thank you for that. I must admit, I didn't know that. I didn't know the story there. Nor indeed that that was a part of Tulsa's shirt. So, yeah, that is certainly something which you'd want to see continue, ideally, because what did we have? What do we have here? Let's see what we do have on the sleeves now. Obviously got the competition patch. I can't see who it is. I assume it's another sponsor. But yeah, good insight. So we're not been to the place here. I've just resized it. Let's stick them down. I mean, if we put the away here, it has to go in the higher end of the counter tier, doesn't it? I think something in this region feels. I like it here. So that is FC Tulsa, and of course Puma. They've been having it pretty good. We may bump them down just ever so slightly. Again, I really do need to kind of split these names up a bit, don't I? There's not enough clearance between many of these. It must be said. So we need to work on that. But that's something for me to work on another time. That's Puma. What about Sao Paulo? Now these guys, a bit like with striped teams, you kind of know what you're getting with Sao Paulo every year. Worth highlighting the 3 stripes, which again, sometimes they let us do this, not often. I should use the mute button, shouldn't I? It's not often we see it though, despite how many teams could use it. So that's good to see, and it is largely the main talking point. Good to see the Adidas template, which you mentioned, with the contrasting black ham. That's good. And the sponsor is unfortunate, but I mean, of all the ways they could have incorporated it, it's probably the best. Even though it does certainly get in the way of the shirt. Internet detail looks decent. This is just solid. This is solid. There's more. I think these guys have certainly had better shirts, but they've certainly had worse as well. Without the 3 stripes being in the two colours there, I think you're looking at something quite low in the counter tier, but with the 3 stripes almost single-handedly, I think you're looking at something pushing on the door of the Flamestone. So that's our Paolo's home shirt, and I think we will stick them, I'd say, pretty high. You know, I think something around Orlando feels good. Yeah, let's go here. And of course, Adidas as well will slide up ever so slightly. This is certainly the most crowded area of our brand list. Guys, I'm going to get a quick drink. I will be back. See you very, very soon. Welcome back, guys. Thank you for so far watching the stream, and I will say as well, I've been promising several videos and they are coming. So just to say on the channel, the next video is coming up. We have got, and again, this is going to be in the next few weeks, so I don't have a specific order I'm going to release them. I need to plan that out. But finally, my testimony video, my faith in the shirt video, which is basically off the back of an event I did last year, sharing my personal testimony of my faith and talking about that in shirts a bit. So that's coming. We've got a what I'm buying video, which I've not done for ages, but we're going to do a what I'm buying video. There's been a lot of shirts that have come into my collection. I'll talk about them, and we also have some unboxing videos. I've got some really cool unboxing videos to come. Some stuff you would have seen similar bits before. I've also got a very particular special edition shirt, which I'm going to be able to get my hands on early. So there's stuff to come. There's stuff to come, basically. But I'm excited. And yeah, anyway, thank you for your support, though, on the channel. It means a lot. Let's get to some more shirts. So, Paolo, we just ranked them. Let's go to the next page. Make sure we've not missed anything. Andy says, love the Bogana video, mate. Thank you, Andrew. Anyone like that coming at all? Absolutely. Although what I will say is, because of the time it took, I do want to pace myself. And I think we'll be looking at something closer to kind of the summer, maybe even late summer, before I do another one. Just because it was, the research, the time, the script, it all took a lot longer than a typical video. But no, I do want to do more. I'd like to have a little collection of that style, that more produced documentary style. But thank you, I really enjoyed it. I think I'm really proud of it. There was a lot which I learned during the process. Yeah, thank you, really appreciate that. And the views are decent as well, so I'm happy with that as a whole. Now, I can't remember, has anyone figured out if I remember wearing this on the pitch? I'm going to hold off until I know more. And again, just reading here, I don't think they've worn it on the pitch yet. If they have, I apologise. What I will say is, I think it looks pretty smart. But again, and it's the same thing with Celtic. And again, both these shirts, I'm going to assume they're not wearing them on the pitch. We need confirmation, really. Anyone who knows, let me know. Thank you, Andy. Says the effort showed. Looking forward to it. Thank you so much, mate. Really, really appreciate that. Both shirts are quite good in their own right. We'll come to Charleston Battery now. Charleston Battery. Last year, you may remember, I was quite low in the shirts, largely because of the separation between the Hummel logo and the crest. And speaking of that, the crest, I don't know, this is like a kind of alternate crest. I'm guessing maybe an old one in the club's history. A very kind of charming old kind of looking crest. Honestly, not sure where the usual crest has gone. This one, you kind of, this colour really is the one that carries it. The vibrant orange, it looks good. Hummel, sadly, because the shirts are fully sublimated for a lot of the US clubs, that limits the shirt to quality. I like the colour as a third kit. There's not really much else to say. And again, the crest, whilst it is an interesting kind of alternate crest, I honestly don't know what the story is there, but yeah, it's fine. It's in the counter tier, probably the lower end of the counter tier. I do like, and again, it would be in the icy tier if I didn't like that shade, but I quite like the kind of the vibrant orange there. And you can see, says afternoon guys, afternoon my friends. How are you? How are you doing? This Thursday afternoon, a little bit grey in Yorkshire today. In Huddersfield, good old Huddersfield managing to get a draw last night, wearing their charity shirt here against Norwich, doing their best to confuse Norwich. So much so that there was an own goal actually from Grant Hanley. So there we go, something worked there. Yeah, it's Charleston Battery. We'll stick them down there. Hummel, of course. We will knock them down. They've been one of, unsurprisingly, I am a massive Hummel fanboy, and I work with them a bit. So not the best person to to be ranking Hummel stuff objectively, but I try. All good on the rare day off. Good stuff, Andy. Well, thank you for choosing to spend a few minutes with us here. And I just said, never thought I'd say this about a car manufacturer sponsor, but Volvo doesn't look great. It looks too small. It does look too small. Like, I feel like these guys have had pretty good shirts, but the application, like the placement of the logos and the size of logos, hasn't been like, that's definitely fell off. Now, this is interesting. These could be some Canadian shirts that we actually like today. So let's come to that. Universitario, these guys have had some pretty good kits so far. I can't remember if that was the home kit or the away. I think that was the home, wasn't it? And the away was, I can't remember where the away was. It's on. Oh, here we go. Oh, well, there we go. The ways in the volcanoes here. So they've had not just good shirts, very good shirts. And we've got the embossed cuffs and the collar. That's really good. That was a high point of the other designs. I quite like the pattern, and I actually am really, really wanting to pink shirts. So this one is perhaps doesn't have the wow factor of the away. I honestly think it's really good though. Like, for me, this pattern, yes, it's not too over the top, but I really like the execution, and I think the overall kind of look of the shirt, that kind of soft pink, salmony pink, looks really good. And you've got the added bonus, which we talked about when we reviewed the home and away shirts, of the embossed details on the collar and cuffs, which are just excellent. black net detail is solid. So this is like another high flames tier. I just really like Universitario shirts and shit, and I really, Marathon. One of the big things which I want to do this year with the Hot Wall is talk a bit more, or track certainly more kind of brands over the year. We talk a lot about this, and I tried to talk about this last year, but now we've got this this kind of brand area here. It's going to give us a bit more to talk about, or at least it's going to be easier to kind of track my prevailing sentiment. So honestly, I think this is even better. Like, I think this is just an easy inclusion there, and this, I think, puts Marathon into third place. Of course, again, there's much more to come, but I see no reason why Marathon won't be, let's put it a bit higher, won't be even, won't be around here at the end of the season. And of course, because they'll have a smaller portfolio of teams, there is that as well. But I'm just really, really high on this shirt. I think it's going to fly under the radar, but I really think Marathon deserve a bit more love. Really good circuit for Universitario. Now, I've been basically down on all the Canadian kits, Canadian Premier League kits today. Whether that's been Forge FC or Valor FC. What about Halifax Wanderers? Now, I will say, I still think that there's a few things which are making me kind of roll my eyes. So on the away shirt, that pattern is brilliant on the collar and cuffs. That just looks great. Not so great to see the words, the kind of subliminal word design. I'm not a big fan of this. I don't know how else to say it other than just word-based patterns of this nature that are just literally text ever so slightly, contrasting in a kind of subliminal style, but I just don't like that. You see it a lot on kind of anniversary kits, like people's names or season ticket holders' names, maybe. But I really like the motif on the collar and cuffs. It looks good. So without that word pattern, I think we're looking at a Flames t-shirt potentially. With that, I can't go higher than the counter tier, which is a real shame because I do like the look of that pattern within the collar and cuffs, or the back of the neck and the cuffs. So we're kind of tempering our ratings based on the subliminal. That's a word I say a lot and yet still can't say very well. No, I do like this as a whole, but I don't like it enough, and it's a real shame. There's a few things holding this one back from the top two tiers, but we'll still stick it. I still take it in this kind of region. Feels good around there. And then we come to the home kit. It's funny, whilst I'm not super keen on the pattern, it's much better in my eyes than the Forge FC ones. At least it doesn't kind of, it doesn't look too clip art, too tacky, in the same way that the chains particularly on the Forge away kit, or let's say the Valor home kit with the claw, which looks really naff. And it's interesting to see the back neck, or the collar of the home kit. So there could be some kind of ribbing there, I'm not sure. But either way, I would say this one is again in the counter tier, and honestly pushing the away kit pretty close. I'd probably just about slide to the away. But this is definitely a step up. Even though I've put these in the counter tier, I do think this is a notable step up, and it's kind of helped stem the Macron slide. Macron were kind of sliding under the board a little bit today, but this has helped. This has definitely helped. So we'll stick them. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because we actually didn't mind the Forge. I think this compares well to the Forge one. I'd probably take that slightly, even though I was quite down on that. On their kits as a whole, and that does help Macron. Those two shirts, I think we can safely now bump Macron up, but not too much. We're still talking counter tier as a whole for them, and they're very, very large portfolio. Right, what about Defensor Sporting? I don't know where these guys are from. Is it Peru? Maybe. It could be Uruguay. So apologies to any Defensor Sporting Club fans. They are from Montevideo, Uruguay. So very interesting shirt. I like the old school Puma logo. That's really cool to see. We don't see that a lot. And even though I'm not the biggest gradient fan, I don't mind the overall look of this one, you know. I think because they've gone big on the purple, all the sponsors in purple, but the black and purple isn't the worst combo. Crest, very simple. I like the backnet detail. That's solid. Or is it a jock tag? I can't tell. Yeah, I don't mind this one. I'm not going crazy about it. And again, typically, I kind of one of my personal kind of gripes or things I don't tend to like is gradients of this nature. But at the same time, the overall look is pretty good on this one. I actually can't knock it too much. I think because they're really stuck to the colour scheme, it helps. A little bit of contrasting black there on the kind of piping on that side panel. That isn't too bad either. It's good. It's almost in the flames tier, honestly. I think it, you know what? With the Puma logo, that helps. We're gonna nudge it just into the flames tier, and I'm kind of surprised. But the more I look at this one, I think no, they've done enough. They've done enough. I think the color scheme again is the big win here. Black and purple, not something we see too often, and I think it looks good. I mean, given that the club looks like, is this the home kit? It is the home kit. Yeah, not colours you would typically think of as a home kit, and of course there's purple in the crest there. So I don't even know much about these guys at all. Hence why I guess they're from Peru, which is a big fail. I like it. I mean, when talking to purple shirts, there's the Charlotte shirt. I think this one, you see, that one did have the embossed crowns, even though I didn't love the blue there. No, I think I'd take this over that one. Not by much. Yeah, no, I'm feeling pretty good about that one. Ian saying, "Wow, brave design from Defensor. Loves black and purple. Looks like a little like a cycling jersey. It does look a bit, doesn't it? It does. Yeah, no, I'm digging it. I think. Oh well, let's get Puma as well. Where are they? So Puma. Yeah, it's funny. That is almost bang on. That is almost bang on where we had Puma as a whole. So that's cool. No need to move them. Well, we'll move them up just one notch there. Puma Nike currently in my kind of overall brand sentiment ratings, neck and neck. Come on, just ahead of them. It's competitive. I need to maybe tidy this up. Maybe I need to actually. Yeah, well, we can thin the text out. Oh no, we don't want to do that. There we go. Back to the States, we have San Antonio. These guys, as a whole, are certainly a club that have had some interesting kits in recent years. This is not one of them, though. We talked about car sponsors. We have Toyota here, and I don't love. This has been the case with other kits of these guys. The Toyota logo style here, you'd rather see, and Toyota, of course, have sponsored many shirts over the years with just their name. I think that's generally preferable, but certainly the square look here isn't good. This I believe is just a stock pattern from Puma. I may be wrong. It's fine. The black and red again, it's okay. I actually think, despite the comments I've made, I think it probably just sneaks into the counter tier. I think the color scheme is actually okay. And again, I think yes, this is I believe it's a stock pattern for Puma, but it is actually not. It's one of the better kind of stock designs they have, template designs they have. So even though the sponsor's not great, and there are things certainly which keep it from being anything close to the first couple of tiers. Like, I'm judging this on the fly, but when I compare to here, I would probably take this over all the shirts in that list. So on that basis, it's not going to be in the calendar tier by much, but we will stick it in there. And that is Puma. So Puma may be back down to earth somewhat. These ratings are always changing. We won't go too crazy. We'll stick them around there. Yeah. So that is the San Antonio FC shirt. What about Hartford Athletic? Hartford Athletic, I believe they're a US club. This is Hummel. We talked about Hummel before. Not loving this one. It's an interesting combination. You've got the kind of the dots pattern emanating from the crest there, and a kind of spiral. That's kind of, there's a novelty factor there. It kind of looks a bit Macron. Macron were very big on this, having kind of patterns that, or they would kind of have often got subliminal or embossed patterns behind the crest, which would then kind of emanate out in some way. So it does make me think of a lot of Macron shirts from the last few years. A very interesting kind of under pattern look, undershirt, underside pattern look, whatever you want to call it. Not sure about the overall look, but it's certainly it adds an element to the shirt. I can't say I'm sort of warming to this though. The more I see it, even though it is, I believe, bespoke, I think maybe it's the colours. Were that a kind of more lively green, and the blue as well, you could have like a kind of Shonan Belmar shirt from the J League. That kind of green and blue. It's a hard combo, and it can look quite fun again in vibrant colours. In more kind of muted shades like this, it just doesn't really do it for me. Maybe if Hummel were doing better quality shirts in the States, they weren't just mostly sublimated, it would help. Although it is worth saying that I believe, I was going to say the crest might actually not be sublimated, but I honestly can't see now. Looks like it, maybe, I can't tell. That looks like it has a bit of texture to it. And I believe some of the Hummel US shirts do. I might be wrong. On the Defensor shirt, Angie says, I like the idea, or maybe it's actually, the Hartford shirt. I like the idea of the shirts I'm blended into the shorts, but I'm not sure when I've seen it work. Will I've ever seen it work well. Maybe that fancy Milan kit they did just did it a push. Yeah, I think that was, I can agree with you there. It's a hard thing, and many teams have tried. Often it doesn't look great, or you have situations like this where even though in a sense it blends in, because the pattern doesn't continue, it does just look quite jarring anyway. So I kind of sometimes think either you go for the pattern on the shorts, or you just don't have it on the blue. That would really help. Yeah, I can't say, like, it feels to me like a kind of very mid counter tier shirt, despite there being, despite it being quite bespoke and that sort of thing. So I think let's just kind of maybe move these guys down again. We need to do a bit of tidying, but that's Hummel sliding down. Maybe we could actually do something like that. And again, I'm just sort of winging it here, but let's go for that. Yeah, so that is the Hartford Athletic shirt. Lots of elements to talk about. Left somewhat whelmed. I wouldn't say underwhelmed. Could be much more. Staying in the States, we've got Indy and Tampa Bay Rowdy. So Indy 11, let's go to them. They are with Puma, as you can see. Looking at the design here, it's funny, this week one of the big talking points has been the Premier League typeface, and they've incorporated in that typeface this kind of graphic which the Premier League use for various assets. This reminds you of that slightly. It's not quite that, but the kind of slightly kind of zigzag lightning bolt look. It's fine. I think the kind of the mono red look with the kind of tonal pattern isn't too exciting. Of course, that is one of their colours. And with these guys, Indy, they've often had Indy 11. They've often had kind of checkerboard looks, which I generally quite favour, and of course it makes sense given their connection that you have with the kind of indie. Was it 500, 100, whatever the whatever the race is called. Yeah. So I think on. Let me start again. Gosh. I realise, and I should be used to this amount of stream, but just sometimes it just hits me and I feel like absolutely exhausted. As much as I enjoy these videos, it is very tiring. I have a lot of respect for people that do this full time. Yes, on reflection, in conclusion, however you want to say it, I think this is a low kind of t-shirt. But despite, I mean, the thing is, I think the pattern might even be bespoke. I might be wrong. Or it might just be a generic Puma pattern. I prefer it. It's a toss-up between... Honestly, I think it does actually probably compare quite well to the San Antonio shirt there. So that is the Indy 11 away kit. I just check it was the away then. Another one for Puma, which does kind of knock them down, and they, you know, they do have a lot of teams. It's going to be hard for them to keep up with the other brands, given their large portfolio. We come to temporalities. Now, these guys have a really, really bold color scheme. It's a very, it's a very fun color scheme, kind of West Brom away. And indeed, they're big on hoops, and you can see that. Great to see, even though the color matching isn't that great, which I assume is more of a material issue. This is a simple shirt, but I do like it. I do actually think, again, the hoop look is good. The sponsor is very large. It's almost breaking out of that hoop there. It's fine in the white. But yeah, no, overall, and again, it's good to see it with the socks. We are only judging the shirts, and that's one thing. Sometimes shirts are elevated when you see them in context. Excuse me, with the overall kit. I think in this example that is the case. But we are just judging the shirt. I think even just the shirt though, this is kind of high candle. I think this is the kind of shirt which is close to the Flamester. And the colorway I actually really like. It's funny because it does have that kind of West Brom. That's the first thing that comes to mind. There are other teams who have these colors, but yeah, I think it's not just that it's yellow and green. It's that very particular shade of green, a slightly more kind of blue shade of green, more on the blue end of the spectrum. But yeah, I think it compares pretty well in this kind of region. It's simple, but I do like the shirt. That is the Temporary Rowdy shirt, and for Puma, that helps. They've not had the best of it today, but we'll stick them up there. I think we're just going to try and tidy it up a bit. I do need to do a bit of work here, but that's Puma. Moving up and down today on our little brand section. As we enter the final kind of 15-20 minutes of our stream, I'm just checking what we've got ahead of us. Very good. Guys, I want to say thank you again for your support watching this one. Don't forget to subscribe. Anyone who's new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. It does mean the world to have your support through the subscriptions on YouTube. And don't forget to leave a like as well if you enjoy the stream. We're back with Charleston Battery, and these guys, and again, I'm just checking, I'm making sure we didn't rank these already. No, we've not done Charleston Battery yet. Again, we've talked about their third shirt already, so now I'm glad we can talk about the home and away kit now. You can see the usual crest, which is a very nice crest, even though it's sublimated on these particular shirts. Let's start with the away. It's hard to ignore that Volvo sponsor. We talked about the Volvo sponsor on the third, looking a bit small. It looks small here again, and it's funny given how small it is, but yet the gap between it is massive. And you know that the collar and cuff pattern It's fine. It's a little bit kind of tacky for me. But yeah, just confused by the decision to have that amount of space. It doesn't look good. Like stuff like this, you just have to assume it's for kind of brand, like for Volvo's brand guidelines or whatever. Or they just basically weren't sure about the size of it, or they weren't sure who was going to sponsor them, or whatever it might be. It just looks like a bad decision. That detail's fine. It is fully sublimated. The overall look of this one, I don't think it. It's probably slightly better than the third. I don't know. I think I'd take the third over it. I think it's a toss up. It's a toss up between the two. I think to be honest, what I will say is this is a big step up from last year, where there was that huge gap between the crest and the Hummel logo, and that just I couldn't get over that. So I'm gonna put these. I will put it above the third kit. So the Charleston battery away, it's still Canal tier, but largely for kind of technical reasons, quality reasons. I think the design has something about it. But that is Hummel. We'll review the home and move them. JPR, good to see you, JPR. It says, hi, Phil, hope you're well. Regarding the new Roma Grid shirt, the online Roma store has a player version of it as well as a fan, so I don't know if this implies it will be worn at some point, maybe in Europe or friendly. Yeah, that does imply. That's a good spot, JPR, and that does imply that it will be worn. It's not unheard of to have player spec shirts that aren't worn. That is possible, but it does suggest that quite heavily. So in terms of kind of, I just wanted to make sure. There we go. Just wanted to make sure I wasn't muted there. So that's good to know. And if we do see it on the pitch, we will have to rank it for sure. Now the Charleston Battery home kit, again, a huge gap around the Volvo sponsor. I mean, it's funny the way they've even framed, this is such an interesting look here. Honestly, I think if you're going to do this, I think it would look so much more impactful. Have a big cross on the front. I think that could look much more visually appealing, or at least I'd like to see that. There have been good shirts over the years that have this kind of approach, but I don't think. I must say, actually, the more I look at this, I think this actually is much better than the away or the third. And because they've framed the black areas in the red pinstripes, I actually think that's helped quite a bit with the overall aesthetic. Even though, again, the gap is huge, it feels a lot more deliberate than on the away. Honestly, the overall effect is pretty good. I don't mind the pattern of the stripe. That's fine. And the club colours are solid. So honestly, this one actually, it is. I'm warming to it. Yes, it's fully sublimated, which is a knock, but I think I can't put it in the flames tier, but I will put it right on the other end of the candle tier. And don't underestimate the difference between a high candle shirt and a low candle. There's not much physically separating on the board, but the shirts on this end compared to this end, when all is said and done, most shirts will end up in the candle tier. And I think it's worth pointing out that the kind of average, and I said this a lot last year as well, but the kind of average line, if you like, I'd expect it to be probably in the lower end of the candle tier. Now, looking at this, at the moment, it's more kind of around here, isn't it? But when all is said and done, I would expect there to be more shirts in this area. We'll see. Maybe it's just going to be a good year. But anyway, all that to say, I think this is by far my favourite of the set. And I think there's not too much that it could have done, that it needed, to go into the Flames tier. We've got Louisville City, so there's been a heavy American theme in today's episode. Makes sense. A lot of the American clubs do get their business out early in the year, given the league season. I mean, this is just two Adidas templates, so there's not too much to say. It's fine, but I think, you know, two of the lesser attractive ones, I would say, or the least kind of exciting Adidas templates. We don't have that really nice contrast piping of the latest silhouette, the latest construction. I mean, the crest is a reasonable application style there, and it is a step up from the Hummel stuff we've just talked about. But it's very generic. It's literally, I mean, when you compare this to you know, any number of bespoke designs that we've seen, even in the States, you know, whether it's MLS clubs or you know, we talked about NWSL at the start. There's some great shirts that have come out of there in the last few years. This just lags behind quite a bit. Yeah, this is like an easy inclusion in this tier, in the Ice Cube tier. And of course, that means Adidas, we have to knock them down a bit, only slightly, but we will do that. And then we've got the away. Let's come to the away now. Similar story, guys. I mean, this one, if anything, is even more common. You know, it's basically, when it comes to templates or stock patterns, sometimes they land okay because they're not used too often, or maybe the colorway is particularly good with it. But this is kind of the example of the worst of the kind of template model. It happens in all the major brands for different reasons, but you just have to look at this objectively. The sponsor's it's not taken away from the shirt too much, but it doesn't add anything. Sometimes a really good crest can help, and this is a nice crest, but it's not enough. But the overall, like, I'd probably take it over the is this the home or the away? I think this is the away. I'd probably take it over the home, but not by much. I remember to mute myself for that yawn that time. So yeah, underwhelming from Louisville City, it's fair to say. I mean, I think it has to stay the Ice Cube tier, even though I would take it above the home. I think we'll finish with Fortuna Düsseldorf. Now these guys have released some sort of anniversary shirt, I believe, or special edition shirt. Many people compared it to the Bayern Munich anniversary shirt from not so long ago. And indeed, Bayern Munich had a shirt in one of Adidas's Icons ranges, their retro lifestyle ranges, which was also quite similar a couple of years before the anniversary shirt. So in that sense, it's not too kind of exciting. I do like, and this is something which you see on a lot of anniversary or special edition shirts, going with the tonal look, the what kind of white out look for the sponsor, and it's interesting to see the sponsor in that placement as well, isn't it? And the Adidas logo, that looks good. And I do like, you know, the giant F. I assume this is an old kit. Yeah, I mean, you can just about see there on some old reference photos. I like it. I like that it's actually like a patch as well. That's much better than just a sublimated design or some sort of print design. The box, kind of old school looking box, nothing too crazy, but that looks nice. So overall, I like it, even though it does draw those comparisons with the Bayern shirt. But the overall, like, I think this one is knocking on the door of the Flames tier. Probably, yeah, no, I don't think I could put it much higher. I do like it though. It's very close. Like it's basically on the line, I think, for me, between the Candle and the Flames tier. I wouldn't quite call it a hot shirt, but it's pretty warm. It's pretty warm. And there's some good shirts. I mean, you know, this is an above, like, any shirt in the top end of the Candle tier is an above average shirt in my eyes. Just not quite enough for me to want to stick it in the very top two tiers, but we'll stick them there. And let's have a quick review. We've got through a decent number of shirts. We have still got a backlog, which I'll try and work through. Again, I hadn't properly done. I'd gone through some of it, but I need to catch up on several shirts. But today, not much activity in the higher end, it must be said. we did have Young Boys, and Chicago Red Stars was a highlight. University of Ontario, completing a trio of excellent shirts. Like, there will be very few clubs with shirts as good as these guys. But we do, again, the Young Boys shirt is great, and I really like it, and despite being black and gold. So not many kind of hits, and again this year there's been a smattering of Volcano t-shirts, but much more to come. But we're very slowly starting to fill up. There's a lot, like in just a few months, and this isn't even all the shirts. There's already been loads of releases. This is not even close to peak season. We're going to be on our game. We might have to go back to weekly for a little bit, I think, maybe to keep on top of things. But guys, thank you for hanging out this afternoon. Great to see some many returning friends, familiar faces here at Phil's Corner. Any questions, chuck them in the last few minutes. I'll be happy to answer them. Otherwise, as my camera does a terrible job of focusing, there we go. I just no problem, my friend. We're just about closing down now. But enjoy watching it and catch up. No bother. Thanks for popping in to say hi anyway. And I really appreciate, guys, whether you've left a comment or you've just been watching and you're not going to leave a comment. That's fine. That's great. I think what I really enjoy with these live streams is, I'd be doing this content otherwise, but I think doing it live, it allows that interaction, and I really enjoy just hanging out. Like even on the quieter streams where it's literally just a few of us, that's cool. And sometimes it's much more, sometimes there's double figures, and that's great. But yeah, I just to finish that thought, when you guys is probably saying, hey, just want to stop in, that's really cool. Like, I appreciate that, so thank you. Thank you for doing that, guys. As well as those who are regularly just pulling me up on mistakes, debating with me. It's good. I need it before I run completely wild on my rankings and pronounce things incredibly badly. Don't forget as well to check out my Marshall Islands kit. I don't know what's going to happen. I think basically they're going to pick a shortlist. Obviously, if it does go to some sort of vote, I will pull out all the stops to try and get that. But if not, I'm really happy with the design, and I think there's a chance it could go further. But at the same time, it's an open competition, much like the Red Star one. So it could go anyway. But check that out on my Twitter if you haven't already. If you've got Twitter. But yeah. Otherwise, guys, I will say goodbye. Thank you for your time once again. On your way out, if you've got this far, I'd be amazed if you're not subscribed up to this point. But if you haven't, or you're watching this and catch up and you've not subscribed, do that. Leave a like if you enjoy this. Thank you, Jake. Says thanks for some nice niche shirts today. Yeah, honestly, even though there weren't many kind of highlights or kind of big teams, there was a lot of stuff from the States and some good stuff. I mean, this is the thing. This is why I like doing the Hot Wall, because we're going through almost everything, and there's shirts which you don't see, or I don't see, on my Twitter feed. No one's talking about them. No one's sharing the Universitario shirts. They should be. They absolutely should be, because they're really, really good based on the pictures. I've not seen one in person, but anyway. But thanks, Jake. Thanks, everyone. I'll head to the outro scene. But it's been good to hang out. I will catch you. All being well, we'll likely be back on eBay on Tuesday. I will confirm that at the start of the week, but we'll probably be doing that. A couple of unboxing videos to come as well, and some other stuff around the corner. But thank you. I will see you very soon for another one. Until then, take care, guys. All the best.